Please be calm-minded and listen well. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Our homage to the Blessed One, the Worthly One, the Self-Enlightened One. Dear devotees, subject to the discourse today, Anamatagga Sansara. That means never-ending cycle of birth and rebirth. The theme of today's sermon I got from the Samyutta Nikaya in Anamatagga Samyutta. That is, Anamataggang yo bhikkhave samsaro Pubbā kotina paññāyati avijjahanang nivaranaya tanhanang sangyojjanaya saddhavitang samsaritang mamang yagatum mahakancha. Dear monks, you and I are being driven this endless samsara, blinding by ignorance, binding by craving. Even I can't proclaim a starting point of it. As that much time, Lord Buddha and us are driven in this samsara. So nowadays, people cannot understand how violent this samsara is and how suffer having this world is. So it's a factor that keeps beings from realizing the noble truth of suffering. It's a fact. It's a factor that keeps beings from realizing the noble truth of suffering. So, our Lord Buddha has the ability to look into anyone's past lives without a finishing line. One time Lord Buddha had preached, dear monks, if I got somebody's and if I look into his past lives one by one, constantly, in my whole life may be finished, but his past lives will not finished. Looking into the past lives is not, it do not need so much time, because it's like recalling something you have done in the past. So very quickly can do the person who has the ability. So one by one, in the whole life, 100 years, 80 years, when he look into somebody's past lives, his life will be gone, but the past lives are not finished. When we talk about the fearfulness of the samsara, we should know about the time period of eon. Eon means a kappa, kappa, eon. Lord Buddha has given a comparison to understand about this eon. If there's some rock, its height is 16 miles, its length is 16 miles, and its width is 16 miles. If somebody caresses this rock with a gently piece of cloth, once a hundred years, this rock will be finished off, vanished, but the eon will not finish. That much long period of time going to finish an eon. So we can be very glad our Lord Buddha has wished and do the things what he needs to become a Buddha within 20 eons. 20 eons, totally 20 eons. But the most of things he has done within 4 eons. So we must think how far big a sansara is. In one time, he has preached in this Anamatagga Sangyutta. There has been many eons that have passed, more than the amount of sands on this earth. There is more eons that have passed than the amount of the sand on this earth. Now close your eyes, and each and everything you have to imagine with the faithfulness and an insight how far this samsara. So one by one you must imagine in the mind by closing your eyes. The number of times that a single being in this samsara has been our own mother, and the amount of milk that you drank from her surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. That is not a joke. The number of times that a single being in this samsara has been our own mother, and the amount of milk that you drank from her surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. How much? Then Lord Buddha has preached that each and every person has been your mother, has been your father, has been your sister, brother, and relatives. No one cannot find who was not as your mother or father, someone like that. Each and every person, each and every ant, each and every enemy, each and every bird, no one cannot find who was not our relatives in the past. Because that much this samsara is, very long. In another time, Lord Buddha had prayed with somebody, gather the all trees, those are just comparisons. Somebody gathered the all trees and grasses in the entire world. Now imagine in your mind, entire world, and trees, grasses, leaves, branches, then all things gathered and cut it into pieces of 4 inches. Then one by one part to one piece, he's separating. Oh, this is for my past life father. This is for my before him. This is for the before him. This is for before him. The all trees, the pieces will be gone, but the fathers will not finish. That much we have fathers in our past lives. Even though we cannot do like that, we will never able to count and finish the number of mothers, fathers we have had in the entire samsara. Now, one by one, imagine in your mind and feel the reality of the samsara. And again, one day, Lord Buddha has preached the amount of tears that we have cried over the death of one single being who has been our own mother in countless times in the samsara surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. The amount of tears that we have cried over the death of a single being who has been our own mother in countless times in the samsara surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. And again, the amount of the tears that we have cried over the death of one single being who has been our own father countless times in this sansara surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. One by one, dear ones, this is not a joke. The 30 bhikkhus had attained the arahantship while inciting this thing. There is a proof in one sutta. So keep your trust and one by one incite from your mind. And again he is mentioning the amount of tears that we have cried over the death of one single being who has been our own brother or sister countless times in this samsara surpasses the amount of the water in the entire oceans. And again, the amount of tears that we have cried over the deaths of relatives, a single being who has been our relatives in countless times in this samsara surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. And again, the amount of tears that we have cried over the death of diseases, are being surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. And again, telling the amount of tears that we have cried over the destructions of businesses, it surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. That much times we have lived in the samsara. That's what Lord Buddha wants to discover. And again, he was preaching, the amount of blood that we have shed when we got killed while we were born as cows surpasses the water of the entire oceans. And again, the amount of blood that we have shed when we got killed while we were born as pigs surpasses the amount of the water of the entire oceans. Again and again, imagine how far this samsara is and how fearful it is. The amount of the blood that we have shed when we got killed while we were born as pigs, goats, sheep, and chickens. We got killed when we were born like those animals surpasses the amount of water of the entire oceans. And again, Lord Buddha had preached the amount of blood we have shed when we got beheaded by kings in the past as punishments for our committing crimes surpasses the amount of water in the entire oceans. Lord Buddha's will never tell lies. So that is the fearful truth of our lives. One day Lord Buddha has preached in one sutta, Evam digarattanukho bhikkhave dukkam pacchunubhotang, tippam pacchunubhotang, besanam pacchunubhotang, katasi vadita. That means, dear monks, for unlimited period of time, you have suffered intensely, you have faced huge disasters. Katasi vadita, that means you have increased cemeteries by your dead bodies. That's what you and I did for this long samsara. We have increased cemeteries by our dead bodies. In one time again, he has preached, I tell these Pali verses because for your trustfulness in the Dhamma. Chatunnangho bhikkhave dhammanang ananubodha appattiveda evamidang digamaddanang sandhavitang sansaritang mamang evatum hakancha. That means because of unknowing four things, ununderstanding of four things, you and I are navigated and driven in this samsara. What are those four? Dukkasarya satyasa ananubodha appattiveda evamidang digamaddanang sandhavitang samsaritang mamang evatum hakancha. One knowing of the normal truth of suffering, you and I are driven and navigated in this sansara. And again, because of unknowing, because of didn't ceasing the cause of suffering, we are navigating, we are driving in the sansara. Because of didn't achieving the cessation of suffering, we are navigating in this sansara. Because of we didn't practice the path to cease the suffering, that's why we are driving and navigating in this endless sansara. So, one time Lord Buddha has preached, so many Lord Buddhas in the past, countless, unlimited Lord Buddhas were lived in the past times. There's a clue, there's a proof in the Buddha Padana Pali in Tipitaka, that is Atita Bubba Buddhesu Dhammaraja Asankheya Manasayeva Hituttavana Buddhatang Abhivattai. That means there have been countless number of Lord Buddhas that have existed in the world. There have been many beings who have liberated themselves from the samsara, but unfortunately we are still trapped in this samsara. So many unlimited Lord Buddhas were in the past, but we are still trapped in the samsara. If you not comprehend these Four Noble Truths in this very life, in the future also Lord Buddhas will appear in the world, but you may be trapped in the samsara. One eon to eon, you cannot be liberated because you have no effort. This has done for us for long times, for unlimited times. How can we say the next time we will got it or not? We cannot say like that. If we pass the Lord Buddhas and the Buddhist dispensations, those type of unlimited times, how can we tell the next time will be maybe got it? Cannot say. There is no possibility. Then again, when we want to know the violentness of this samsara, fearfulness of this samsara, we should think about the situation of four hells. One by one I'll explain. First of all, we are going to know little things about the main hell, the main fire hell. If somebody is born as a being in hell, the workers of hell will not put him into the main hell firstly. Firstly, they give some other punishments to him. The workers of the hell is some beings who has committed some sins and they were born as the workers of the hell. Then so many times they are living like this. After that, as a rule, their next birth must be a being in the hell, but they don't know that. However, firstly, what they do is they stab with daggers to one hand of that being, to another hand by a dagger, to another hand by the one leg, another leg, and the middle of the chest. They stab by daggers or the javelins. And they got him by the if we gather for something, people like both got his legs and the entire universe will not survive for it. Now imagine how much you suffered in the hell with the fire, how much you suffered in the hungry ghosts, how much you suffered in the animals world, and how much you suffered in the humans world in this samsara. Now if you gather those all sufferings together, please think for a moment. This whole universe, this entire universe, not survive to keep it. That much we have suffered. That's why Lord Buddha had preached there is one noble truth that is called suffering. In one time Lord Buddha had preached, if you really know the amount of suffering that you have endured in your samsara, you will not try to put an end to the fire that is burning on your head, but you will try to comprehend this Four Noble Truths. If you will really know the suffering of this samsara, you will not get in the burning. But if your hair got burned, is firing, you will not finish. You will not end it. You will try to comprehend about the Four Noble Truths. But unfortunately, we do not feel our past. We cannot remember our past. So we are in delay. Look at example. If your hair got firing, if you know the fear of the samsara very well, you will not extinguish it. You just first you comprehend the Four Noble Truths firstly. After that you will end the firing on your head. Only a person who understands this can understand how well Lord Buddha had preached the Dhamma to this world. Such a deep understanding. Because of not knowing this suffering, you are still expecting to be reborn and expecting to entertain in this world. And you don't know how much you suffered in this samsara. In samsara we have felt so many sufferings by the body. Even while we are burning in the hell, we still try to keep this body and love to the body. How much foolish we are. In the hell also, we love to that body. In the animals world also, we love to that body. In the hungry ghosts world also, we love to that body. Now also we love to this body. But such type of suffering given by this body. This body has not any gratitude. It always try to, each time I'll cut his body, which time I crush this body, which time I give a disease to him. This body is like that. You bath it, you feed it, you protect it, but the body has not any gratitude. But how foolish we are. We are just trying to keep this body. We are just love to this body. We are just trying to protect this body. Lord Buddha is not telling to kill this. He just tell to stop this attachment to the body. Because if someone needs to be liberated, he must be disappointed about this body, sensations, perceptions, volitional activities and consciousness, to this five clinging aggregates. Even the human world, we suffered so much because of this body. But we truly realize this suffering, we come to understand that having life remaining in even an atom in this body should not happen. If life remains even in an atom in our body, then there's suffering. If you can realize truly about the suffering, you will feel the life should not be happen. Remain in this as a part of atom. Life should not be remain in this body. If there's a life remaining in the body, if they remain even in an atom in your body, then there's suffering. So comprehend that, understand that. Then we can go to the sensations. We have suffered lots of pain in our body because of the sensations. Now we are going to disappoint about the sensations. There are pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations, neither pleasant, none unpleasant sensations, no unpleasant sensations. The reason why we suffer this much is that because attaching to these little pleasant sensations. The reason why we suffer this much in this long samsara, because we are attaching to these little pleasant sensations. Ask from your heart whether you should be attached or not to these pleasant sensations, or while you see this much of suffering in the samsara. Ask from your heart, again I'll tell, whether you should be attached or not to these pleasant sensations, even while you see this much of suffering in the samsara. Because of the sensations you have suffered in the hell, because of the existing of sensation you have suffered in the hungry ghosts, because of the sensations you have suffered by unpleasant feelings in the animals world, but you are still trying to keep the sensations as your soul, as yourself. Now is the time to disappoint it. Now is the time to detach to it. Now is the time to liberate from the sensations. Ask from you. Lord Buddha had preached, monks, you should be afraid to these pleasant sensations. Because of these pleasant sensations, we cannot get rid from the samsara. We are always attaching. We always forget about the unpleasant sensations, and we are always attaching to the pleasant sensations. How foolish we are. These are not the words spoken by the Lord Buddha non-sincerely, but the things he saw from his own heart. We also tell like that. You can think this is all has spoken by non-sincerely, but it is not like that. He has spoken those from his own heart. By attaching to the visuals, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles, we have to board again and again. We have to be afraid to these objects that put me into this samsara. These objects, visuals, sounds, we are attaching to them, and it makes the path to go born in this samsara again and again. So we have to afraid about these pleasant sensations. When we see like this, we feel such a disappointment to the sensations. And the root cause of all things is due to the illusion in the perceptions. Then we are going to talk about third clicking aggregate. Those are perceptions, sanya. We created perceptions as I, as mine, as beautiful, as fertile. In this way we got tangled and diluted by our own perceptions. We are the one who putting perceptions in our mind as this is mine. If you look at your nails or the fingers, you are telling, oh, this is my hand, but the hand will not tell, oh, I am yours. It is just a perception of yours. This hand is mine, this nail is mine, but nail will not tell, I am yours. You can show your hair and tell, oh, this is my hair, but hair will not tell, I am yours. It's just a perception, what arising and passing away in this very moment in your mind. Followed by this illusion, we went further into illusion itself. Followed by this illusion, we went further into illusion itself. Illusion to illusion, because of the perceptions. And the fourth one is volitional activities. Because of these volitional activities in the mind, many knots are forming inside our mind. Like craving, delusion, and so on. Then have to truly feel disappointed towards these volitional activities in the mind with proper understanding. The all things, craving, delusion, those are arising because of our mind, because of the volitional activity. Those are just preparations in the mind. So we have to disappoint towards those volitional activities also with a proper understanding. And the last one is consciousness. Consciousness is a main cause to suffering. If there's no consciousness, there is no suffering. If you faint here, you will have no care in the world and you will have no suffering. Please think just for a moment. If you faint here, if I tell the world going to be blasted, another world come and touched to the earth, there is no problem because you are fainted. No any consciousness, there is no suffering. But the case is, if you suicide yourself, you have to born in another place. That is the case. Then the suicide is not a proper answer. The answer is the cessation of the suffering. It's a cessation of the consciousness. This consciousness is a main cause to suffering. All the sufferings arises because of the consciousness. When consciousness ceases, all suffering ceases. If you realize within your own heart that this consciousness shouldn't exist in any realm or any world, you can be satisfied at least a little bit that you understand the cause of suffering, the noble truth of cause of suffering, even to a small extent. If you can realize within your own heart, this consciousness shouldn't exist any realm, shouldn't exist any world, in that way you can be satisfied at least a bit that you understand the cause of suffering, even a small extent. In that way, Lord Buddha preached, Evam digarathan ko bhikkhave, dukkhaṃ paccunubhutaṃ, tippam paccunubhutaṃ, bhesanam paccunubhutaṃ, kattasi vaddhitaṃ, alameva sabba sankharesu, nibbindatum, alam virajyatum, alam vimucyatim. That means, in monks, for an unlimited period of time, you have suffered, intensively suffered, faced huge disasters, and increased cemeteries by your dead bodies, corpse. Only this is enough to you to disappoint to all preparations of the mind. Only this is enough to detach. Only this is enough to liberate it from yourself. That's called alameva sampasankharesu nibbindatum. This is enough to disappoint about the all preparations of the mind. As long as you have known, you try to satisfy these eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind, but you are still enslaved by them. We tormented with anger, but we still will you be able to get rid of anger? In all samsara, within as an animal, as a hungry ghost, as a human, you had tormented with anger. But still will you be able to get rid of anger? No, right? You still have anger. You are still being fooled to anger and enslaved with anger. You cannot control. Isn't this the right time to let go of this anger, at least now? Isn't this the right time? The one who understands this, he will never get angry or irritated even when somebody rips them apart. If you really understand this much of suffering I have felt in this samsara, this much of years I have spent, so, and this much of times I have gained anger. Now I don't need again this anger. This anger is the main cause to go to hell. If somebody cut my body piece to piece by a knife, I will not, from a dagger, I will not get an anger. To a person like this, achieving a jhana from metta, from loving kindness, is not a difficult thing to accomplish. To a person like this. But you need to understand how far we are coming from this samsara. Dear ones, I am telling all these things from within my own heart. So please try to understand in your own hearts as well. If you don't try to comprehend this by your own hearts, this becomes merely something like you heard one ear in and the other out. And it only becomes a perception, and you would have gained, you would have not gained, you would have gained nothing out of it. Has a single thing from your body, sensation, perception, volitional activities, consciousness, 100 eons ago, 100 kalpas ago, remained up to this point? No, right? No. Has a single thing from your body, sensation, perceptions, volitional activities, consciousness, 1 eon ago remained up to this point? No. No need for that far. Think about your past life. Has a single thing from your past body, past sensations, past perceptions, past volitional activities from your past consciousnesses remains until now, remained up to this point? Nothing. Then this point clicking aggregates what gave me all this suffering. What gave me, and it shouldn't exist any longer. Now you have to comprehend. Now I am giving you a small guided meditation in this very moment. Close your eyes and comprehend very well. This body has given me so many sufferings. These sensations has given me so many sufferings. These perceptions has given me so many sufferings. These volitional activities have given me so many sufferings, and these consciousnesses have given me so many sufferings. Now meditate like this. If you're able to understand this correctly, you will open your eyes after become a stream mentor or a person who see the stilling of all preparations. That means Nibbana. Now you can feel this much of things. This five clicking aggregates what gave me all these sufferings. And it shouldn't exist any longer as a second, at least a second. So abandon it right now. From your own heart, abandon it right now. I don't need this body, I don't need this sensation, I don't need the perceptions, I don't need these volitional activities, I don't need this consciousness. Just now abandon those 5 clicking aggregates from your mind. Abandon it. Now, just now do it. If you meditated correctly, your mind will feel free without any thoughts now. This emptiness is also including in 5 clicking aggregates. Now you feel an emptiness. It also including in 5 clicking aggregates. And this also impermanent, this situation also impermanent. Within small time it will cease and has no use to me. So abandon it also. Abandon that emptiness as well. Abandon it right now. I abandon it right now, like that way. Abandon it. So now, if your mind become to a state of higher calmness, so inside this state also as impermanent and non-self. If you can feel very calmness without thinking anything, this situation also impermanent. Within small time it will cease. And this also not my soul. If this cease, if I think this as my soul, this situation as my soul, when it's go to cease, then my soul is ceasing. So it is impermanent and this is non-self. If you comprehend, if you insight like this, then your body and mind will feel coldness. If you did this correctly, this is not a state. This is also not a state that is permanent. So abandon this state as well. Abandon this state as well. This coldness, that coldness of the body and mind also abandon now from the mind. And then abandon this thought that you took as abandoning. Abandon that as well. And then abandon this thought that you took as abandoning. Abandon that as well. Now look at the mind from your mind. Then your mind and body will come to the pure tranquility and peace. There is a stilling of all preparations, the relinquishment of all assets, what called body, sensation, perceptions, volitional activities, and consciousness, and the destruction of craving. There is detachment. There is cessation of the extinction. There is no idea of existence that we called. This is what we call as Nibbana. You can come to this state by understanding the suffering. Lord Buddha has preached, alameva nibbintatum alam virajatum alam vimuchyati. This way you can create disappointment. It leads to detachment. By this can abandon. Then you can be liberated. Nibbana is achieved by the mind not being including within 5 clicking aggregates. May the merits that you have gained by listening to this Dhamma sermon contribute in your achievement of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.